Hey babies, it's your favorite host, Mr. BMG, back at it again with another episode. Let's get into it. Anyway, babies, I hope you've had an amazing week and you've been doing everything that makes your heart full. Getting into the business of the day, I read up somewhere in the streets of the internet on how apparently the Grammys are going to be introducing or separating the best country album genre to best contemporary country and best traditional country. So I found that very interesting because I'm just like, well, why are we dividing one genre into two different genres, you know? And the only thing that made this relevant was at the back of this, Beyonce had just won Best Country Album, and obviously there was a lot of backlash and uproar about her winning Best Country Album because she's not considered a country musician. She obviously made Cowboy Carter, which is a country album, and so I think people who have been in that genre for a long time felt entitled to always being considered. I do feel like every musician has the ability and the range to play around and to experiment with different genres. You know, I think it's part of your artistic integrity to do that. It's part of creative expression. I think Beyonce is entitled to make country music. It resonates with her background growing up in the South, you know, in Texas. And I think country heritage and country music definitely forms a big part of her life. So I think it's as much a part of her as any other music she's actually made. If the reason why we are dividing this genre into two is because there's still dissatisfaction with who won the award in the prior year, then that's definitely the wrong move. I think what this is only going to do is create division within the genre. It comes across as it's racial. I do have a feeling it's like they're going to be separating musicians between races, and the traditional country music will probably be awarded to white candidates and the contemporary will be awarded to black candidates. More than anything, it's just going to create division. It'll only become apparent why the genre was split into two, contemporary versus traditional, when they start to award people in these categories. We can only speculate for now why we think they did that, but we haven't seen them in action. Speaking of music, the BET Awards were actually hosted, you know, this past week, and it was absolutely a spectacle, it seemed. Lots of the stars from the different shows on the networks or associated networks. I don't know how I feel about the BET Awards, you know. I feel like they were celebrating their 25th anniversary. Obviously a reason to make the awards extra special. I do feel like I used to thoroughly enjoy the BET Awards, something I'd always anticipate and watch every single time. They had Kevin Hart host this year, and obviously he is quite funny, comedic, and people absolutely love him, so I think maybe it was a great decision on their part. Comedians generally tend to do well as hosts of award ceremonies because they bring a light-hearted energy into them, you know, into something very serious. They make it light and fun and not as stressful, you know, because everyone's always anxious about if they're going to win or not. So I think he obviously did a great job. I do feel like Trevor Noah as well, I guess, while following the pattern of award show hosts who are comedians, who are actually doing really well. Trevor Noah did well with the Grammys as well, and is still doing well with the Grammys. I'm not sure if he'll be hosting next year, but I think that's the only thing they have going good for them. My favorite all-time host of the BET Awards has to be Monique in 2004. I just think there was something about her in that era. You know, I think Monique was really in a really beautiful season. She had just done Fat Girls and Fat Girls of Success, and you know, she was in a bunch of movies. I do feel like, you know, as you probably heard me mention on this platform, that the 2000s Black Hollywood era is unreplicated. There was something very special about it. There was something rare about it. Having Monique host the BET Awards in that era in which she was thriving so much, I think made it very special. And also her tribute to Beyonce, I think she performed Crazy in Love, and she did the whole routine, and it was just so iconic. I'm like, girl, you can move. You did what needed to be done. She really gave it everything and left nothing on the floor, just jaws. This ceremony was also pretty interesting. I guess the notable moment that stood out for me was the whole Bow Wow and Erica Mena, because Bow Wow was obviously hosting the BET Awards as well, in part, and we had a run-in with Erica Mena, and obviously we know that him and Erica Mena were engaged sometime, I think, in 2015, and the moment for me was kind of cute. I know a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, it was quite an awkward moment, but I think, oh man, like they probably had not seen each other in a while, or not sure if it was a great breakup or not, because a lot of people were saying, well, it may have been not the best breakup because he looked shocked and nervous and, you know, I guess slightly startled to come across her. I feel like maybe that's just a natural reaction to somebody who you were in a relationship with and there were feelings involved. But even if it was just like a trauma trigger, I think it was still very interesting to see them catch up, because I don't think they ended on a bad note. He's not one of the guys who she speaks negatively about in general as being like the nastiest ex ever, but you know, she speaks often of Safari being like really nasty, and I think Safari has also shown his ass, you know, in a lot of things publicly by being a bad boy and behaving badly towards Erica Mena, that she doesn't really have to convince the public much that, you know, he was kind of a douchebag of a baby daddy. But also Bow Wow performing Like You, and then Ciara was also in the audience. Bow Wow and Ciara did allegedly date at some point in the past of the 2000s, and when they made that song, I think that was kind of in the height of their relationship. What made it awkward was the fact that they're no longer in a relationship, but he's still performing it, but she's still in the audience. But she subsequently moved on to probably the best husband you could have ever had in this lifetime, you know, and everyone's always just kind of praising her for her prayer that she made to get such a good man who loves on her and is still obsessed with her for this long. So yeah, I would imagine it was awkward, and I would imagine maybe she didn't perform because she didn't feel right. It didn't sit right with her to do that, and she doesn't want to ruin her prayer. So that could be the tea. I also feel like, again, Bow Wow does not come across to me as somebody who has like bad feelings towards his exes. It kind of looks like he's kind of a move on and keep it going type of energy, and maybe that's just his public persona. He's completely different in private, but I don't think there's bad blood between Ciara and Bow Wow. I just don't think so. Firstly, it's just too long ago, and secondly, they've both moved on, you know, and I also don't think there's beef between Bow and Erica Mena. So the commonality is he likes tall women, end of story. Other thing I want to talk about relating to the BET Awards was how Kendrick Lamar won Album of the Year, which I guess was expected because it just looks like they've been rallying behind, you know, his music, the Grand National Tour, and just everything Kendrick lately, you know, so it's not surprising that he won Album of the Year. I know Kevin Hart also kind of made a joke by just giving him, or trying to give him all the awards that he was going to win on the night all at one go, which I think was kind of problematic, because then you kind of see how not so democratic the process is of winning these awards, and it's just about connections with the people you know. I still have not listened to Not Like Us, or the new content, the new album, or get the reason why he's had so many awards just thrown at him, other than it being a political ploy against Drake. Still don't get it, people, and yeah, don't think I'm missing out either. Chris Brown won Viewer's Choice, as he should. I do feel like Chris Brown is such an amazing musician, has had longevity, stood the test of time, and despite the odds of the industry trying to cancel him, he kind of rose above that. And I think, to be honest, the reason why he's actually relevant is because of that push and pull factor that he had, you know, how people felt like the industry was against him, but wanted to support him despite that, to stick it to the system. Obviously, also the fact that he's made consistently great music. So yeah, we like to see a good Chris Brown winning moment. Your BET Awards, I don't know if I'm as invested anymore. The whole production, I don't know if I'm still as invested, but I feel like I still watch it because it's part of the culture. I do feel like it had more star power, or it felt more aspirational back in the day than it does now. It's lost that sort of spark, and I feel like they need to get back to that. And I think that award ceremonies in general need to get back to that spark that they had in the 2000s, but maybe it's also just the times that are different, you know, with a lot more transparency, with a lot more access to information in this generation. We're able to sort of see through maybe what was always a farce. Obviously, Teyana Taylor was actually at the BET Awards and recently released a song called Long Time, and he's using Aaron Pierre, and he showed up to the BET Awards with Teyana Taylor, and I do feel like I like the couple, you know, unlikely couple in my mind, to be honest. Like, I just never expected them together, but I also never, I didn't have any feelings toward not ever seeing them together. It's an unlikely pairing for me. And maybe it's just because we're used to seeing Teyana Taylor with her man, because they've been together for so long. So seeing her with somebody else other than Iman was kind of also jarring in that regard. But I also feel like it was important for her to step out with somebody other than Iman, because people will get used to her having moved on and not being with him, and, you know, their divorce, just like people will get used to her being Teyana Taylor and not Teyana and Iman type of thing, because they were always together in public. So it's good. Like, I'm hoping that the relationship isn't just for press or publicity or to promote the single. I'm hoping it's a genuine relationship and it's not something for the media, PR stunt, because that happens quite a lot, you know, to promote different things. People love a good love story, especially when they feel like they can connect it to the art. You know, it makes it feel like the art is more real, and a lot of her music has actually been expressing this whole renaissance that she's sort of going through, with her being divorced now and coming into a new woman, and basically having lost herself and shedding, and is now a completely new person. And essentially she's been expressing those themes. So I feel like that's sort of her being in a new, fresh, new relationship is on brand with that messaging, and could be a PR stunt, but also if it's real, I'm happy for her, and I hope that he's a great guy and he's a breath of fresh air from Iman, and that they're just happy and sail into the sunset, darling, and live their best lives. Speaking about somebody else who was at the BET Awards, Letoya Luckett, former member of Destiny's Child, and also established actress, if we're being honest, was at the BET Awards, probably promoting her new show, Divorced Sisters. Written, directed, executive produced, and masterminded, and everything by Tyler Perry. I'm just making that joke because I feel like all of his content always has him playing all of the roles, and I'm just like, well, maybe this is the problem, you know? No shade, but shade. But essentially, I feel like, yeah, Letoya Luckett, seeing her on the BET Awards red carpet was great because I think it was also a reminder of how we found her, how most people found her, because a lot of people found her as a musician. Some of us actually only really knew her as an actress because I think she's been acting for a very long time and she has been doing music also for a very long time. So it's easy to say that you're introduced to her as an actress because that's what she's been doing. She's had a pretty good run at it. And so she's on this new show called Divorced Sisters, and the storyline is so juicy. It's so good. But basically it's about a first lady at a church married to a pastor. The pastor is Devin Franklin, who interestingly is a pastor in real life. Fascinating, darling. Like, keep up with it. He's a pastor in real life, and he was previously engaged to Megan Good. You know, fave girl Megan, that girl, love her. I just think she's timeless. She's a timeless beauty. She'll literally always be stunning, and she's just a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. Her and her sister, actually, Amaya, they're just both stunning. I actually recently got exposed to her sister, mostly through, like, Tubi, because I feel like she's been on some really good psychological thriller movies on Tubi, and she's actually such a great actress. And yeah, the apple does not fall far from the tree. But yeah, so Devin Franklin, who's Megan Good's ex, was it fiance or husband? But I know they were like in some very serious relationship. Could have been husband and they got divorced. I think it was actually. Yeah, so I just feel like him playing that role is very close to life imitating art because he's also a pastor in real life, and he's playing a bad boy, you know, and who knows how close his role is to his actual life. And I think that's what makes the plot pretty interesting. So the story is so juicy. Yeah, he's kind of a philandering pastor guy, and he's kind of rude and very short with the wife, and the wife is Letoya Luckett, whose name is Rashida on the show, and everyone's kind of gagging about that because now we related to Rashida and Kirk from Love and Hip Hop, and we all know that Kirk has been the greatest douchebag and cheated on her multiple times over and over and over again, and Rashida has always stayed and stuck to her man, and everyone's just laughing at the coincidence because it's like when we're seeing Letoya Luckett's character on the show, she's very much like a pick-me kind of girly, like stick by your man no matter what you hear about them, and the other person is wrong, never your man type of energy, and she was giving that girl. Like, I do like the show. I do feel like the scenes are a little bit too long for me. I think they could have been shorter. I do also feel like the editing, like I think we could have done better with piecing the story together in a higher frame of quality and a little bit more polish, you know. I think the acting talent is great. That's not where the problem is. I think it's just how the budget was spent on the whole production as a whole, you know. And I'm always kind of pointing this out because I feel like I'm going to keep saying if Tyler Perry is the pinnacle and gets the tender for these biggest, you know, the biggest shows on television, I think his work should reflect that, you know, and we deserve quality, not just half-assed products on television. I think we deserve, beyond a good storyline that's always consistent, we deserve the execution to be beautiful. Need you to do better as per usual, and I know you can because you're obviously a great writer, you know, but maybe allow somebody else to direct, allow somebody else to produce, allow somebody else to edit, you know, so that the finished product is also what we deserve, not just the storyline. Speaking of Tyler Perry, he was seen on a boat cruise, honey, allegedly, apparently, with Brian Tanaka, who is Mariah Carey's ex, and I'm just like, apparently he is on one of his shows, Beauty in Black or something, but he's on one of his shows, so people are saying that it would not be weird for them to be seen on a boat alone together. And I'm just like, well, is he that person who hangs out with his people after the shoot is done? Could be, you never really know. Are they dating? That's not been confirmed. Is Tyler Perry queer? I don't know. Do I feel like Tyler Perry is that girl? Yes, I think she could be that girl, one of the girls. So I do feel like whatever they were discussing on that boat can only be vastness. Whatever they're discussing on that boat can only be something very interesting that the public may want to know, actually. Do they have a personal relationship? We don't know. We can only speculate because it's not been confirmed. But even if they are, I guess he's living his best life now because he's not with the beard that he was with for the longest time. So maybe this is his way of slowly living his truth. And I'm also very curious about the phases that he'll go through, if this is him living his truth. We can only speculate because it's just a picture. Obviously, we know that Khalid was outed by somebody who he was dating, and Khalid ended up winning the favor of the public because the guy who outed him was some random, I think, porn star dude or whoever, or adult entertainer, or I don't know what he did, but I think he thought that he would end him by doing that, but only for him to actually flourish and rise out of that. So I think Khalid ended up just winning, and that dude just ended up being lame and just like irrelevant, to be honest, because we don't even know. We never really entertained him beyond that moment. So I feel like Tyler Perry taking a page out of Khalid's book, if it is that they are from the same cloth, you know, allegedly. If they're not, don't know, don't care. But if it is that they cut from the same cloth, I think taking a page and owning it would be great for you and your personhood, so you can just live freely and not everything that you do be gossiped about in speculation, because it's just out in the open. So I've been feeling a little nostalgic lately, and when I came across this story, I just felt like I needed to talk about it because I was just like, oh, it's so cute. So Mike Epps posted a throwback photo of himself circa 1993, early 90s essentially, and he looked so good. Like, I think he's so handsome now, you know, like he's such a cute, sexy man. But I do feel like then he was even hotter and so cute, and I could see that the 90s were doing the most for him, and he looked so good. And he had a funny boat. I think he definitely had it all, clearly. So I just thought the picture was so cute, and just to see the fact that he's pretty consistent in his looks to this day, there's always something good. Black clearly does not crack people, so that was a cute throwback moment. And also to see how he's actually just doing pretty well now. You know, he's still in comedy. He's got that Upshaw's show with Jermelle Simon, who I adore, by the way. I think he is so amazing, such a cutie pie. And he's in a relationship with that guy, that tall dude of his, and they're just so cute, and they're just giving the cutest black queer love. He's got a really good thing going there, and I hope that they keep on renewing the show. And yeah, to see Kim Fields in her element, I think she's done great on the show as well, and the little kids growing up. And I could actually see a spin-off of the show of the kids, maybe when they are like in college years or something. I think maybe they could have a spin-off of the show, or when they're in high school. I think it would be pretty cool. So shout out to you, Mike Epps. You look so good. You still look great. And yeah, to having more of the Upshaws and more comedy projects from you, because we want to laugh. And look at you, sexy. Okay. Anyway, babies, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Messiest Bitch on the Internet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also follow us on Instagram at BigManEntertainment_. And I'll see you again on the next one.